address, she said, these is her sort of like her pep speech, right? Like, here's what we care about as a state. Here are our priorities. And then she'll release her budget proposal, her executive budget proposal. And that's her basically saying, here's what I think. Here's how much money we have in raised in taxes, and here's what I think we should be spending it on. And so that's her executive budget proposal. Now, the world reacts to this. The advocates, they all, is this good? Is this bad? What did they miss? The legislature, the Senate and the Assembly, they're going to have hearings about it, and sort of listen from and really drill and interrogate the governor and her agency representatives. So in our case, that's like Office of Mental Health. Who here knows the name of the commissioner of the New York State Office of Mental Health? It's okay if you don't. And if you work with us, you might meet them. So that's Commissioner Ann Sullivan. And she's been the commissioner of the state mental health agency for several years now. And many of you probably work in county and you work in the city. So they have the counties have their own commissioner, right? So you might be more likely to have met that person. But even those people, they interact directly with the big state agency that oversees the entire state system. In any case, the legislature is going to be drilling them with questions. Why did the governor choose to do this? Why didn't she make more investments in this program? Do you actually have enough money to fulfill your mission? That's a really funny thing you'll see commissioners be asked, because they actually work for the governor, and so they like can't answer that honestly. And I always find that funny and a little frustrating, to be honest, because the reality is they don't always get the money that they need to make the system work. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So where we are right now, we're in the legislature is holding hearings. Really soon, the legislature is going to be making their own proposal. Well, Governor, I see what you did there, but actually, we think that you should be spending money here. And we think you forgot about this. And so they make the Senate and the Assembly, there's two separate houses, they make their own counter proposals. And then once those are out, and that'll happen sometime in early March, you have a three-way negotiation happening between the governor, between the senator, the Senate, and the Assembly. They used to call this the three men in the room. Now there's two women and one guy. So times have changed. But in any case, they're going to be negotiating between the three of them, and between those three positions or budget proposals, what will come out of it is a sort of tentative agreement. And so from the moment that process starts, they have until April 1st to pass an enacted budget. And that sets the state's spending for the next year. And then at some point, we're going to go right back into that process. So this time period between April and June, not budget season. Call it policy season. We call it legislative season. These are all non-fiscal related issues, right? So if you think it has a price tag, it's probably something that should have been in the budget. These are bills. These are like this. We want this specific rule change. And so everything that's not budget is going to be hashed out April and June, or not at all. They might decide they don't want to work on it, but that's where it should be worked on. And so, like, for an example, that might be like solutions, not suspensions. Has anyone heard of that bill, the Solutions Not Suspensions Act? Yeah, so that is trying to curtail schools' ability to suspend young people for normal youthful behavior, right? It's an important priority of Families Together. We're going to be working very hard between April and June to get that bill passed. It doesn't have funding priorities attached to it necessarily, so that's when we work on it. All right, June comes up, all done. They pack up, they want to go home. They've worked for 6 months. through about 2 to 3 days a week at the Capitol, and they wrap up session. What happens in the off months? What happens between June and August, September, October, all the way to January? Well, the electeds are going to go home to their districts. Advocates are going to regroup. We're going to strategize. What did we get? What didn't we get? What do we need to do to win next year? Who do we need to build? What kind of power do we need to find? Whose voices did we not activate? All that. And then the budget season basically starts all over again, September until October. The state agency has to send in their priorities, their funding priorities to the governor, and they say, all right, here's the things we think we need, governor. So what do you think we're doing in the lead up to that moment? We're talking to the state agencies as advocates. We're saying, we want to see money for youth mental health services. We want to see youth peer advocates get better pay, right? These kind of priorities. So in September and October, when the state agencies are saying, here's what we think our priorities are, that's when we're going to want to be influencing them. And that's actually why we moved our family empowerment town halls, those virtual town hall meetings we have with the commissioners. We moved those to August and September because we want to influence the state agencies themselves, so that then they tell the governor, actually, we're hearing from the community, these priorities are important, they need these resources, and then they pass those on to the governor, in theory, right? That's how we want that to go. And then the governor is going to take all that information and she's going to write her next executive budget proposal. And now we're full circle. That's the circle of life when it comes to Albany and New York State government. Did you think this slide, we were going to spend this much time here? Is there any questions? Does that feel clear? Okay. So what? Okay. So that's the game here. That's the timeline. And remember, we're right now in February, so we're in sort of reacting to the governor's thing, hearing from the community. We actually testified a few weeks ago. We had our youth policy coordinator, Khadija Abdulaziz, present on our priorities. What's the governor thinking right now? Right? Like what is in her mind? Well, there's a few things to know. There is a ton of uncertainty on the funding side. The federal government, through their big, beautiful bill, have you heard of it? It's big and it's beautiful. We love it. It is wrecking state budgets across the state, across the country. New York State is no exception. Lots of things like SNAP, Medicaid, education funding, all these things are being clawed back. TANF, temporary assistance for needy families, and making state governments very nervous and causing huge billion-dollar holes in their budgets that they then, if they want to keep those types of services on and running for us, they're going to have to find money. They're going to have to find savings somewhere else. And then, so that's kind of what's going on here. Now, the good news is that Wall Street had a really good year. So their bonuses were pretty high. And that means that the New York State gets tax receipts. And so there was a better tax season than expected. And that means that there's a lot less pain this time around. On top of that, the federal government's sort of phasing in a lot of their cuts. And so the state in this budget season is a little bit not as much pressure as maybe there will be in future years, right? It's also an election year. And so the governor is thinking, and all the legislature are thinking, let's be cautious. Let's give some good wins. Let's give them something to be happy about. The people, the voters, let's not rock the boat too much. Right. And so that kind of makes sense given what she decided to do with her budget, which I'll get into a little bit more in specifics. I don't ever let this go, and I'm never taking this slide down for as long as I'm doing presentations about budgets from here on out, because she made a promise when she began as governor a few years ago. She said, for decades, our mental health system was deprioritized and defunded. Make no mistake, this is the defining challenge of our time. I think that means she has to make huge investments in things like youth mental health, right? To actually tackle the youth mental health crisis. And so that's what we're going to be expecting from her. That's what we're going to be reminding her of this year and every year as she's governor. Here's the context. The mental health system as a whole, the behavioral health, OASIS, the substance use disorder side of the system, behavioral health at large, has been experiencing cuts via not giving cost of living adjustments to those contracts. A lot of words just there. Basically, inflation, right, is a big problem. So if the state agencies pay money out to all these providers to do good work, like the ones you work at, but they don't give cost of living adjustments that increase their contracts as inflation happens, that is a cut because the cost of everything keeps going up, but they'll pay them the same, right? And that means they'll pay you the same as workers. And so this is how dire this is. And this number is old. We're looking at more like over the past 20 years where the state was supposed to be giving COLAs to the human services world, behavioral health services world. They weren't. They called it, they said, actually, we're not this year, and we're going to save money. We're going to save the taxpayer money. But what that's resulted in over 20 years is hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that have been divested, essentially, out of the system. And so now, fast forward 20 years later, when we've siphoned, this number is inaccurate, really more like $1.2 billion out of the system through not putting inflation increases in. The wages are low. The turnover is 20 to 40%, depending on your agency. Vacancy rates are high. And what does that mean for young people who are trying to access services? That means they're dealing with long wait lists. That means that when they finally get a chance to talk to somebody, that person might not be there for very long because they're going to either leave the field altogether or find a higher paying job somewhere else. And so that's resulting in a poor lack of timeliness, access, quality experience for young people and for families. And that's what happens when you divest over $1 billion out of a system and starve it. It can't function, right? And that's a big part of what we're dealing with. So did the governor fix that this year? That's the big question. Well, she did some things, and we have to give credit where credit's due. She did have, and she has for the past 3 years, now going on 4, proposed some form of inflationary increases. As it stands, we're still short just during her time period, being governor, 7.8%, right, has not been invested, basically, because she wasn't passing. Oh, if the inflation was 2.7 this year, she proposes 1.7. Now, as that goes on over her tenure, the gaps, we're not keeping pace. Now, I have to come back to the context. 20 years of no increases at all. Now we have a governor who's passing some increases. And so that is worth celebrating. And it's also important to note, wait, we actually do have power, right? As a field, getting more organized. You can see the governor saying, all right, this is a priority. I'm going to do something about it. And really a big part of what we have to do is make the case that you need to invest more. And you have to invest more aggressively. And we have a lot of ground to make up for, right? And so that's a big part of what our advocacy is looking like. But all that said, the governor put that in. She made increases to specific programs, like she's adding more money for supportive housing. That's good. She wants to invest in new clubhouses and safe spaces for young people. Also good. We want to see it, and frankly, more. She's expanding teen mental health first aid. A lot of you probably are trained in mental health first aid, probably, right? She wants that to be expanded, more access to more schools, more students involved. And that's actually really good for our world because these teens are getting exposed to like what mental health is and they understand it better and they might actually be interested in joining the field, becoming YPAs as a pipeline to get more people into joining the workforce. All that's good. She's working to integrate um, mental health and substance use disorders through licensure so that programs can do both more. And then not exactly a mental health thing, though I'm sure you all could probably see the connection. Raise the age, youth justice funding, Families Together and Youth Power had a huge role in helping pass the raising the age of criminal responsibility, which was a law that said that no longer would 16 and 17-year-olds be tried as adults in the criminal justice system, where they would go to adult courts, they would go through adult probation, they'd be sent to adult jails and prisons, and they would be in parole if they made it out. And that's, I mean, I don't want to get too dark here, but a lot of people didn't, right? And so that was the urgency, the moral moment, the moral clarity of that campaign. And so we passed that back in 2017. But ever since then, the forces that be, district attorneys, police, some judges are trying to roll it back. They're trying to say, well, some kids should be tried as adults. And the reality is your brain's not fully developed until the age of 25. Young people, even if they do serious crimes, are still young people. And so they should go through the family court system. So we're holding the line on that, but we're also trying to make sure that there's investments. So we were successful this year. The governor didn't introduce any rollbacks, but she also didn't propose any new funding. So we'll settle up with her because we're talking to the Senate and we'll talk to the Assembly and we're going to get them on board. So that's, and then I don't want to skip this because it's important. You probably heard about it, universal childcare. We support this because parents, who's heard of social determinants of health? Ever heard that term? It basically says that the stressors that people live under in their daily lives, in their community, the experience of racism or the lack of education access, the lack of jobs or lack of housing or food, all these lack of income, all these things create a statistical probability that someone is going to have adverse outcomes down the road. And so rather than just saying as a field, oh, let's be mindful that people are going through stressful things and lack resources, right? As we treat them for mental health issues. We say as an organization, treat the lack of resources, address the problems that people have. Make sure they have access to childcare so that they can get good jobs. Make sure they have housing. Make sure they have access to food, right? The basic needs have to be addressed before we can start moving up that ladder of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You ever heard that term? So that people can truly become the highest, like actualized versions of themselves, reach their potential. And so we don't skip that. So our whole agenda is thinking top to bottom, what is it going to take for families and young people to be successful? And so childcare, universal childcare, a very good thing. We're happy to see it in the budget. And we're glad the governor moved on that. So what's missing? Well, I've been sort of hinting at this. Lots of spoilers that throughout my presentation so far might be. But there's a few things I want you to know about. One, we've heard already that the state is sort of short on cash. And we have some ideas on how to solve that. We think that Medicaid managed care which is essentially for-profit insurance companies who manage Medicaid on behalf of the state. Medicaid is a public health system, public health insurance option. Back in 2016, 2017, the state decided to hand off control to private insurance companies who do all the things that private insurance companies do to the rest of us, non-Medicaid payers, or like ghost networks, inadequate networks. No one, we don't actually have anyone in our network to provide the services that we supposedly cover, right? We try to deny claims because if we actually paid for the service, we'd lose money, right? And then delay payments to providers and fight them in court. All these practices are very common in private insurance and frankly just don't cover a lot if they can help it. In the Medicaid system, they do the same thing, but they're doing it to people who are low income, who typically have lots of needs. They're a lot more vulnerable. And Medicaid's the biggest payer of behavioral health in terms of insurance in the state. So why would we put those people in charge? Now, here's the kicker. If we stop that alone would make a huge improvement to the system. But they also get paid to do that. Those contracts across the state have a $400 million profit baked into their contracts. So we're paying them $400 million a year to basically tell us no when people need services. And they don't always do that, but the general rule is if they can, they will. And so our proposal is to carve behavioral health, mental health, and addiction out. We don't want them to be part of Medicaid managed care anymore. We want them out of the picture, and we want the money that they make in profits to be reinvested back into the system. And that money could fund all sorts of other priorities we have. Talked about the COLA. That could help fund the COLA so that rates for providers would go up, therefore rates for workers would go up. We want more money for peer support, right? General grants to go out to peer support programs so that we don't even have to deal with an insurance in some instances. We want to see rates go up across the board in youth mental health specifically, home and community-based services, CFTSS. You're all youth peer advocates. If you work in Medicaid, your agency is billing CFTSS. And those rates are abysmal. They are way too low. And that's a big reason why pay for youth peer advocates is what it is. There's room to go up. Can we all agree on that? And so that money from the managed care companies could be reinvested into those things. Has anyone seen us push out things from the Campaign for Healthy Minds, Healthy Kids? You've seen messages about that. Mimi was just with us. We were lobbying at the Capitol about this. That campaign is all about trying to get investments into the home and community side of the system. That's where we work. So that's what's at stake. These are our priorities. And no, the governor did not move on these things. And so we have more work to do, right? And that's what we're doing now. We are trying to convince the Senate and the Assembly to carve out behavioral health from Medicaid managed care and to reinvest those dollars into important things like peer support, home and community-based services, and the COLA for the whole system. Does that make sense? And more importantly, do you feel me? Like, is that like, yeah, this is important?
Absolutely, Brad. I appreciate you so much for bringing up the Healthy Mind, Healthy Kids advocacy. I'm going to be really honest with you guys. Even though I have been a YP and an FPA was my first time since high school graduation where I went and advocated on the behalf of any of the asks. And I know that it can sound like really daunting, and that meetings can sound really daunting, but it was absolutely amazing to sit in the room, whether it was directly with those professionals and commissioners and Congress people that are going to really make the big change, or even sitting down with someone from their office who's going to take notes on that meeting and make sure that they get all of the documents and everything that we ask, just to be taken seriously, to have 15 minutes to a half an hour, which is a really short period of time to bring up such a large issue, and to just be welcomed by other people that were there. There were youth there. My favorite, there was a youth who was 10 years old who has been pushed out of the school system, and she was there to advocate on her own behalf and to say, this is the experience that I've had. And so when we talk here in the youth peer advocate space about our lived experience making us the experts and taking that story, we're taking that story to the top, and we're making sure that they're listening to us. And that's what's actually creating the impact, is the stories that we're telling and our personal experience. And so I did share about my experience navigating mental health on my own behalf, on my foster sister's behalf, on other different things. And it felt really good to be not only heard, but to know that someone's actually going to take this information and take it to the person who's going to ultimately have to vote on this issue and hopefully pass this budget, or actually, even if we're increasing a dollar amount somewhere, like, these are the people that are going to make those big decisions. And so I urge all of you, if you haven't done it, don't be afraid. I know we send out lots of flyers for things. Please feel free to reach out to Brad, myself, or anyone here at Families Together. If you're interested in this kind of work and you don't know where to go, we're definitely here to help support you and make sure that we're having you be represented in these rooms, so we can help you come together with your statement, what you want to share, prepare you for these meetings, let you know when these meetings are happening at the Capitol, and make sure that you're there to be a part of this conversation. So I did share some documents from Healthy Mind, Healthy Kids, the carve out, and all that information. And I would love if you guys would take that and also share it with the people that are around you. This is a really important cause, and Families Together has been huge in a lot of these things. And so it's really big that you guys also come along with us for the ride.
Hell yeah, Mimi. That's what I was looking for. I appreciate that. That's it. That's what we're talking about. So I'm giving you information, but there are so many opportunities to get involved. And I'll preview March 30th. We'll be having our big family empowerment day presentation, or advocacy day. We'll have a rally, we'll have a march, we'll be doing lobby visits. And so it's never too late to start. And to take your shot. And if you just want to see there and observe, if you're one of those people, you got to feel it out first. I mean, this is a great event to do that at. Anyway, so I'll speed run the rest of this because I think you all care a lot about mental health, and I don't want to bore you to death. There's important pieces. I mentioned how much economic well-being, how important that is. We want to see investments in children and families. Things like tax credits, housing access voucher program, rent assistance, SNAP, cash assistance, all very important. No, the governor didn't do enough, but she has done some things on these stuff. So this isn't to discourage. It's just the point to, like, look, we're convincing them as a broader community, not just Families Together, really the people are convincing them they have to do something, right? And they are making moves. And it's our job to let them know that, good job, there's more to do, right? Education, we didn't see investments in solutions, not suspensions. We want them to pass the bill. We want them to add $50 million so that schools are equipped with what they need to actually address youth behavior and understand youth behavior as communication and undeveloped skills in terms of, like, emotional regulation and interpersonal skills. We want to see schools understand young people as people, right? And so we want to see investments. Things like community schools, universal after-school programs. Didn't see enough. We want funding for youth justice. We want child welfare housing subsidies for people that are former foster youth. And we want those to be available up to age 24. Right now, it's a very sharp cutoff, way too early, right? Most people, a lot of people, especially if you have access to parents or a permanency, they're going to be helping you adjust and transition into independence well into your mid-20s and later, frankly. Like, healthcare is now available to people up to age 26. So something like foster care housing subsidies, those should be extended longer, right? And I already mentioned the rate reform. and the carve out. And I think we all understand the moment we're in. I say deep breaths, maybe some deep shouts. We're all on mute. I don't know if you're in your office or not. Just scream into a pillow if you've got one. Why don't they just do what we want? All right, well, we're on that path. We're making the moves, and the moment now is push, 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 push. Keep pushing. Make calls when we ask you to. Take the e-action alerts, and also as youth peer advocates, talk to the young people about these things. Engage their interests and sort of get them involved or thinking about like, could I do this? Could I? We always need young people in this space. It hurts me sometimes when we go out and we have rallies and maybe we have one or two people. No, you want one or two young people there. You are who we're talking about. You know, we tell this as a network. Nothing about us without us. Um, and so we need you there. And that means also you telling us what the barriers are and how, and then help us figure out how to overcome those. But a lot of you have access to young people. And so it's important for you to talk to them about these things and figure out really like building and developing them. Like, hey, might be a good opportunity for you to. I know you talked about how you want to get the word out about these things. You want to make change. Can I get you connected, right? And then we'll start them on that journey. But we need them there. And so here is Family Empowerment Day. We have buses coming from across the state. We have two coming from New York City. We've got a Western bus that's going to hit Buffalo and Rochester. We've got a Hudson bus going from Yonkers to New Paltz. If you live in Syracuse, we've got you covered, or North Country Watertown. And there is a bus coming from Long Island. We'll have to make two stops along the Cross Island, whatever you call it. I forget. I was going to flex, but I don't know Long Island that well. And then the Southern Tier, this is a new bus. This will be leaving from Binghamton, dropping to Oneonta, going to Albany. Now, I have to be 100% clear with you. This is a long day. You're going to have to get permission from your employer. You might need a day off afterward or a half day. There's a little bit of work that you're going to have to do if you want to come to convince your employers, but you know, I think I've equipped you with some of like why this is so important, why it's important for family peer advocates and why and youth peer advocates specifically to be there, and for the people that you serve to be there. And so try to have those conversations with your agency earlier rather than later if you're interested. These buses leave at like 6 a.m. Right? So this is a long day. I'm trying to give you like managed expectations. You won't be getting home until like 7 or 8 p.m. Right? And you'll spend a fair amount of time on your feet. Now, okay, is this the least convincing pitch ever? Maybe.
Brad, you're scaring them.
But I want to be real with you. But what happens during that time? You're going to be meeting with hundreds of other people who care about this issue, who are part of our network, who come to our TA calls, who are allies. You're gonna hear from legislators who are going to be talking our language because they're our allies, and they're fighting within their broader conference. Like there's 212 senators and assembly members in New York State, and the allies among us are going to be trying to convince their fellow colleagues to pass the bills, pass the resources we need in our community. You're going to be hearing from young people. We're going to have the entire legislative office building, that's where they work. That's where the legislative offices are. We're going to be literally in their front lobby with microphones, rallying, being loud, shaking hands, and convincing them, doing the good work. Elevator pitches, the whole deal. We'll be doing meetings. Then we're going to do a march. So we'll be walking around with signs and chants and walking around the Capitol. It'll be literally impossible for them to ignore us, right? We'll stand outside the governor's office and yell, pass that money. Give us the youth, give us the COLA, give us the youth mental health investments, invest in youth peer support. And we're more importantly, and why I have any shred of enthusiasm for this event at all after 12 years of organizing this event, is I get to be together and we get to do all that together as a network. It is peer to peer, it is community, it is collective action, and it's going to feel really good. And you get to take that energy back with you into your work. And so, for all those reasons, I think it's worth a long ass day. That's
It
my
really
that's
is.
my opinion.
It really is. I'm not gonna lie, Brad is not lying to you. And I know that this sounds like really oxymoron. Like, how are you convincing me to go on something that's gonna be long and hard? But I promise you guys, it is worth the journey. I came home. I'm not gonna lie, I was at that event with Brad. I think I left around 4 p.m., hit some traffic, and I did not get home to Rochester until 9 o'clock, and I was self-driving that day. And it was a long day. I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning. It was a long day. However, I felt so empowered and so energetic the very next day coming into things. I felt refreshed. I understood that I wasn't alone, that I'm not just fighting this battle by myself. I felt inspired. There are assembly people that have lived experience too. And it's amazing that they're willing to share that with us, that they're willing to say, I struggle too, that this system needs to change because I can't get my kid the services that they need. I'm witnessing it too. I'm living this with you. And there's nothing that's more inspirational than knowing that the people at the very top that control everything are standing there with you, but they can't stand there with you if your voice isn't heard. And we have voices. And I know as YPAs, you guys speak to a lot of youth. Encourage them. Let them know that some of these stories that we hear are absolutely unacceptable. Kids that are getting pushed out of school, the ones that we can't find services for, our families that we cannot get connected because they don't fall under a certain label and they don't fall under a certain category to get the services that they need, or they just barely miss the age cutoff. These are the stories that they want to hear. These are the stories that we should be bringing to the Capitol with us. So talk to your supervisors, talk to those youth, talk to those family, see if they're interested. I know it might be weird. You might be sitting on a bus with them for 3.5 hours. Bring your headphones and ignore them. Professional boundaries. You can do that. You can do that. Take a nap on the bus, bring your little neck pillow. There will be food. We're gonna make sure you're fed, you're hydrated. Like, there will be all those things, but there will be good company. But it's really a matter of you setting that intention and getting here. And so Brad and I and everyone at Families Together, we are willing to help you guys and we welcome you very much into this space. I want to see you guys move. And like we said, it's all about passing the torch. I'm gonna be real honest with y'all. I turned 31 in May. My YPA days are coming to an end. Can I still be a peer? Absolutely. Can I still do peer support? Absolutely. But I can't really stand up for the youth voice because technically, according to New York State, once I turn 31, I'm not really a youth anymore. So I need you guys to carry this torch with me. And so I encourage you too to just bring everyone along with you for this ride, even your family. Remember, if you have lived experience, your family is also affected. They have lived experience and they can still come and speak on your behalf as well. Share these events on social media. Make sure that you're texting your friends about it. Have conversations. Like that's literally where all this starts. It's okay if even if you come to this event and you want to share something that was told to you because that person couldn't be here, as long as it's with their permission. So we encourage you to start those conversations and come advocate with us. I'll get off my soapbox now.
Does anyone want to thank you, Mimi? I appreciate your passion. Um, really awesome. Does anyone want to get on a soapbox? You've been talked to for a while. Does anyone want to share anything? This resonates with me. This is important. I'm motivated. I'm not. Whatever. Go ahead. Let's like talk. We have another half hour or I don't know. Yeah.
Yep, we end at 1. So this is definitely a space for us to talk about it. Talk about if you're nervous, if you're interested, feeling motivated. I know that we also talked about the experience of the budget cuts too. So I did put in the chat, like, are you guys experiencing this? Are you seeing this? Is your youth seeing this? How's it showing up in your work? Are you getting paid the same amount that you did last year, but you're figuring out that you're struggling to make ends meet? Like, what's going on? We want to hear from you. So I'm gonna put myself on mute and be quiet, and I will allow you guys to take over the space.
No one wants to talk. I guess I'll jump in. Mimi, I definitely want to say what you just said definitely resonates with me. Um, I honestly just within like the last 2 years found out what a peer was. I've been at my job now for a year and a half, in my role. So when I got my YPA and I saw that the cutoff is, you can't renew after your 31st birthday, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm turning 30 this year. Like, why didn't I know about this sooner? So I definitely feel you on that one. And then I would have loved to come this year. However, I'm pregnant and I am not going to be marching all around at 30 something weeks pregnant. We intend on, and it's 10.
Apologies, you're starting to go in and out a little.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
My AirPod fell out. What was the last thing you heard?
That you are pregnant and expecting, and we all wish you congratulations.
Thank you. So I said, yeah, I'm definitely not in for walking around all day and marching, but I definitely do intend on being there next year. This is definitely something that I'm interested in.
Thank you. And we look forward to joining you. And you can still help out from at home. There are plenty of times where we send out notifications. Also, number one, if y'all are not subscribed to the Families Together newsletter, I'm going to put that in the chat. You should be, because even when we get these requests, we will send out a flyer that is just for reaching out, and we'll tell you exactly what steps to take and exactly what to say. It'll literally come in a blurb and it says, call this person and tell them to do XYZ. So we'll give you the bill that's going through, what it is that our ask is, why it's our ask, the data behind it, and then give you a very simple, just call this person, here's their phone number, and this is what we would like you to say, because that's the language that they're going to listen to. So if you're at home, feel free to sit on the cell phone and dial up and tell them that way, or you could write letters. So there's still very many ways to interact and to advocate, even if you're at home too. But we will miss you.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I sounds kind of like action alerts. I get them all the time at work, so I definitely be on it. I know my voice matters.
Yes, it does. And thank you, Jay, for bringing that up too. For those of you that are YPAs that are aging out, you can do what Jay has done and what I'm in the process of doing as well. There is a New York State peer certification that you can pursue, and they have made it actually really easy. If you're a current YPA, you can easily branch over from the YPA into their peer certification, and you won't have to take as many as the required courses because we already provide those for you as a YPA. So you can be dual credentialed as well. I will post the website for that. And their Learning Academy for the Academy of Peer Services is currently open for this quarter right now. They do close out, I believe, like in April. So you have time if you want to do that as well. Anyone else feeling nervous or excited about advocating, want to do something new? Like, I would love if everyone had an action item from today, like one thing that they were personally going to task themselves with to increase their advocacy. Feel free to put it in the chat or come off mute. But I would love if everyone could leave with at least one thing we're going to go do.
Well, I'm gonna go tell all my youth to come with me. I'm like, because some of them, they like to skip school. So I'm like, okay, don't go to school today. Come to Advocacy Day. So I'm gonna share that with them. That's what I'm gonna do.
Skip school for a good reason.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I like that one. Well, that's the thing is like, yeah, it does take kids out of school, but yep, I was going to say we do offer the school absence letter because, again, this is something that's important. And if they're going to school, this is something that's going to impact their day-to-day lives in school. So we want them to be here. So absolutely. And let us know if we can assist. Anyone else?
I think you had her at we provide absence letters. She's definitely gonna. Everybody, come on, let's go.
Or just Dora, get on the bus. Man.
I'm pushing for pizza in addition to our sandwiches. Also, if you like free lunch, I don't know. We can talk about it. If you want to influence our decisions there, you can hop on our planning committees. We actually have a planning committee, and we want people from our network to be there to help shape the event. So, if that's something you're interested in, you can email me.
Okay.
Mimi, how did you write my email that quickly?
TA calls are my specialty. I don't know if you noticed the entire time you were talking, I was just copying all the extra things in there. I'm like, they need more information to engage.
When I saw like 9 messages, I couldn't click them for a while. I was like, oh shit, thanks.
Sorry, I gotcha. Yes, Jason, I love that. Share this with leadership and the youth and let them know about this opportunity. Absolutely. And as always, they can go directly to our website. For those of you that ever wondering about the bus stop end times, there's a very long list there that will let you know based on what region you're in, what time that bus is going to be, the exact address of that stop, and who you will need to contact if you have any questions, comments, or concerns by email and phone number. So we've got you guys. Anyone else want to tell me what their takeaway? I'm not gonna lie, my takeaway is that I'll be back in Albany. Um, I I have never been more excited about change and policy until I hung out with Brad for an entire day and got to do it in person. Like I hear it all the time. I get the emails. I work at Families Together. I just want to put this out here. I work here. I get the emails. I get the newsletters that have a blurb with Khadijah's beautiful face on it that says this is what she's doing and stuff like that. But I had yet to experience it for myself. And so I'm telling you, if you've ever seen us on a poster and you're like, ah, that's boring, I've done it too. I've done it too. I've literally bypassed this step, but it's really, really important. I promise you, it's such a good experience. So come join us. I'm gonna pick on someone. Ayana, what's your action step?
Oh, great. I think for me is well, I like this little Zoom. I thought this was the cafe, but this was also really helpful. I think for me that I'm going to not be as shy. Like, I don't like big crowds and with big people and doing stuff like that. That's why I love working with youth. But I think for me, just the way you guys talked about it and how inspired you were and how changing it was, I think for me that I'm gonna try it. Like I really feel at home when we do these little Zooms and stuff like that. So I think this is the time now for me to take that step and to do it and to take it a little further than what I've been taking it.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Sometimes we don't necessarily realize that our regular, zone of work has become more of a comfort zone. And we always talk about making sure that it's a safe space for us to grow, but it should be a stretch. It should be a stretch zone. We talk about this in our 4-day training all the time. It should be a stretch zone. And so I love that you're realizing, like, hey, I'm a little comfortable. Let me get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So I love that. Thank you. And also, I'm coming from the Rochester area, so I will absolutely definitely see you there if you decide to go. You texted your 17-year-old niece to see if she'd like to go with a few of her friends for the day. Yes. See, we're making it fun. We're making it fun, and that's how we get the youth here. I love that. Thanks, Paula. Let's see, who else can I pick on? Jay.
I am going to look out for any emails or any information about how I get involved on the Families Together side. If there's any committees or anything coming up, and help with that process.
I love that. Thank you for tasking yourself with trying to get in on the professional side of things and helping Brad out with that. That is absolutely something that I know he would welcome. Isaiah is also joining us. Feel free to come off of mute when you get a second and introduce yourself to the group if you'd like.
Hello, everybody. My name is Isaiah Santiago. I am just coming out of a dentist appointment, so half of my face is numb. So if I'm talking weird, you know why. I am the youth leadership manager here at Families Together New York State. Right now, the Youth Leadership Council is underway. One of your members is part of our council. Congratulations. And we're still looking for people to sign up. So if anybody's interested in the Youth Leadership Council, you guys can send me over a text. But I'm also um, helping out and advocating with policy and legislation. So if you guys ever need me, don't be afraid to email me or text me in the chat. Thank you.
And I just popped Isaiah's email in the chat for you guys if you want to reach out to him, just so you guys are aware. Our Youth Leadership Council is invite only. So that was your invitation. That makes you part of this closed community that could be invited. So if you want to throw your name in the hat, please feel free to reach out to Isaiah, or if you need to touch base with any of us, do that too.
Yeah, and you can also just leave your email in the chat, and I'll send you the application. This is your invite. You're in the invite only right now. Everybody on the call is on the list.
Great job. Thank you. Let's see. Does anyone else want to share before I start going over just our regular events that we've got going on to close this out? If you have any last minute advocacy tasks, please feel free to pop those in. Isaiah, do you want me to copy these out and send them to you in Teams, or can you see them? I know you're on your phone and your face is known.
No, I see them. I am actually going to send the email now, so you don't have to send it to me. They'll get the email during the call.
Thank you for that. All right, I'm gonna just go ahead and zoom through some upcoming events that we have going on. Give me 1 second here. Brad, do you have any last finishing thoughts or comments for all of the YPs in the room while I get something pulled up?
Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for all the folks that have taken their first steps and helping this event be successful. Thank you for your time. And if you're interested in having more conversations like this and thinking about ways that you could get involved more deeply, you know how to reach me, or you can reach out to me or Isaiah. I shared in the links here. We actually got news coverage from our advocacy day that Mimi was a participant in. We had a rally at the Capitol. They came up to our offices and we talked, and then they did some more coverage. And so this is my pitch for like, what are some ways I can get deeper involved? We've mentioned coalitions, we've mentioned getting people out. If you have a story to tell or a perspective you want to share, and as long as your employer is cool with it, like you can speak about the value of these investments. Like you can talk from your experience as a lived expert. You can talk about your experience as a YPA, and there's all sorts of opportunities to do that. Isaiah knows I ask him to speak all the time. That's one way you can do that. You come to meetings. You can speak to the press if you're open to that and sort of talk about your story. You can be anonymous, like, oh, I'm just going to write a little essay, right? I'm a young person from XYZ place, and here's my experience. Here's what I see people experience. All those things, like Mimi talked about, getting the stories out there, getting our perspective as people with lived experience is what's going to move them at the end of the day. And there's like 100 ways to engage, and we can help you find the way that's right for you. So that's my last pitch. I know you have work to do and things that you have to do, and this isn't your day job. So just say thank you. Anything you can lend yourself to, so deeply appreciated.
Thank you so much, Brad. And thank you so much for putting this together, for constantly making sure that not only are like people at Families Together, but that other stakeholders here, the youth, the YPs, and the FPAs all have knowledge of this information. I think it's really good that here at Families Together, we're transparent about how we feel about things and what we're advocating for. So thank you so much for that. As always, your feedback is very important to us, so please take time to fill out the following survey. I just popped it in the chat for you. In the meantime, I'm going to tell you about all of the upcoming events that we have here at Families Together. So first, I will go ahead and share our flyer for our Youth Peer Advocate events. This flyer has two sides to it. So the first one is going to have the youth TA call, the Lived Experience Cafe, and our youth peers meetings. Also wanted to put the plug in that our youth peers meetings are a perfect place for this conversation on advocacy as well. That is a place that isn't just for credentialed YPAs. We want youth to be in there. It's a great networking opportunity. We like to talk about what's going on in our local communities and how we can best support each other and continue to advocate. So that is absolutely another place that you guys can feel free to come and hang out with us. On the second page of that event flyer, you're going to see an interest form for our Youth Peer Advocate Credential Advisory Committee. And so if you are a credentialed YPA and interested in becoming a little bit more of a leader in that department, you can come join our committee. We help to review applications, deal with code of ethics violations, different things like that. And so if you're interested, please feel free to scan the second page on that. For some dates, our upcoming YPA Lived Experience Cafe will be February 25th at 12 p.m. We have our 4-day advanced training as well. So if you are currently a provisionally credentialed YPA, and you are interested in continuing and getting your professional credential, you need to have completed the second level for your CTAC courses. But if that is completed, you're more than welcome to sign up for our 4-day advanced training. So go to our website and you can sign up for that as well. If you have any questions or comments about next steps in the credential process, please feel free to reach out to myself or FTNYS Together. I will put those emails in there shortly. We also have our youth peers meeting. It does have its own standalone flyer, so I am just sharing that if you want to just share it with the youth that you work with, since they won't be credentialed. On top of that, we have our next YPA TA training. That will be another one of these. That's going to come up on March 19th at 11:30, and we are going to be talking about a strength-based approach for YPAs. And so if you want to learn more about having a strength-based approach and how you can also make sure that your team, your supervisor, and everyone working with you is adapting that, please, please, please come and attend. I'm really excited. As Brad mentioned before, we have our Family Empowerment Day rally in March. That is March 30th. So we've already sent out all of that information previously in the chat. And just so you know, I'm going to send all of this out in a follow-up email like we always do, so no worries, you'll get all the things. On top of that, we also have our virtual job fair that is coming up in April, so April 30th. If you or your organization is interested in participating, we currently have a call out for orgs and participants. If you want to move around in the peer space, if you're looking for a new position as a YPA or an FPA, this would be for you. If you know any youth that have lived experience that might want to move into the peer worlds, that would be another good event to share with them as well, so that, again, they can get paid for their experience and to help other youth in the recovery process. And last but not least, we also have our Families Together annual conference coming up, and that is going to be May 3rd and 4th of this year. And so if you would like to attend that, I will also post the link for our annual conference. And we would love to have you guys for that as well. Can I find it after to go back and watch it? Yes. So absolutely. All of these TA calls, except for like the first 15 minutes of this one, because I forgot to hit record, will be posted on our YouTube page. And so you can access all of the past TA calls from there. So no worries if you miss it, there's always another opportunity. And then I just got 2 other things from the Youth Power side. Number 1, we have a Youth Power Discord. I know I've been telling you guys about this. And so if you are interested in joining that Youth Power Discord, please feel free to sign up for it. I don't know why I can't copy the image in there, but I will make sure that that gets to you. But it is an online free platform. We have a lot of youth on there, as well as YPAs in the different servers. We talk about art as advocacy. We talk about the advocacy work that we're doing. We talk about pretty much everything and different ways to interact in our communities. So if you are interested in that, please, please, please join our Discord. And with that, I will give you guys back the last 8 minutes in this hour. If you have any continued questions, comments, concerns, or anything else that's not related to this TA call, I will stick around for your assistance. And that is all. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Wait, I have a quick question.
Hold on one second. I will answer your question. Give me 1 second.
Gotcha.